Welcome to the Adventures of the Monad, which look at life, the universe and everything. My name is Kazim Kamal Ur-Rahim. In this series, I ask the question, where do we come from, who are we, and where are we going? I post one presentation a week. Please subscribe to my site and hit the bell icon for notifications of future videos. You can also leave comments and join in forum discussions on my website. In my fifth presentation, I looked at the biblical view of creation and how this compares to the esoteric view. There were clear similarities, but the esoteric model, especially the one put forward by Pythagoras, is much more comprehensive. I wish to return to the topic of the mechanics of creation. This is a topic that would benefit from saying the same thing twice. We have discussed the stratification of the universe into 49 planes of matter, or consciousness. When it comes to planes of consciousness, or planes of matter, they amount to the same thing. On these planes, there are 49 different types of atoms, one for each plane of existence. Each type of atom is indivisible on its own respective plane. Atoms on plane 1 are truly indivisible, as they are the fundamental particles of existence. I have equated them to zero-point energy. What is the significance of the zero-point energy? The Absolute continually supplies one atoms into the universe. These one atoms carry energy from the inexhaustible source, the antiverse, into positive existence. This positive existence we call the universe. Why is it inexhaustible? Because there is no time or space in the antiverse. This means there is no beginning and no end. Anything emanating from this existence is infinite. The net positive influx of these one atoms into the universe also has another visible effect. It causes the universe to expand. The Big Bang did not just happen. It is not the case that somehow, from an infinitesimally small speck of nothingness, the universe suddenly appeared. Hylozoic speculates that there is another infinite reality, and this is the source of our energy and matter. Hence the universe is expanding. As you descend each plane of matter into denser matter, 49 of these one atoms coil into a loop and create a two atom. This is then the smallest and indivisible atom on its own plane of existence. This process is repeated until you arrive at the 49th plane. This 49 atom is the smallest atomic structure in our physical world. And when I mean that, I mean our solar system. It is much smaller than anything scientists have ever managed to observe in their Large Hadron Colliders. In fact, they will never observe it, but that is for another day. Atoms vibrate in multiple dimensions. Atoms on plane 49 vibrate in 3 dimensions. Atoms on plane 48 vibrate in 4 dimensions, and atoms on plane 43 vibrate in 9 dimensions. Finally, when you get back to plane 1, where it all began, atoms there vibrate in 51 dimensions. These are the most energetic atoms in the entire universe. We can't really imagine what it would be like to operate in 4 dimensions, let alone 7. It is mind-boggling to think what it must be like to be conscious in 51 dimensions. We start on plane 1 as unconscious monads and return fully conscious monads. This cycle of evolution leads you to become omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient with all things in the universe. Now, let us look again at the origins of matter. Negative existence is the opposite of positive existence, which we call our universe. Emptiness inside the universe is infinite density outside it. The antiverse is negative from the standpoint of the positive universe. The antiverse is absolute density and completely homogeneous. It is a matrix of primordial matter and energy. Minuscule bubbles form to produce primary matter, which is empty space in the matrix. This bubble, present within the matrix of the metaverse, flips inside out. Relative to the matrix, the bubble is empty space. In our positive universe, we now have a one atom. The raw material for pre-existence is not boundless nothing. Rather, it is boundless everything. That is why it is called limitless potential. Now, you may have heard about the infamous Higgs field, or as the press calls it, the God particle. Particles in our universe are in fact empty spaces in the antiverse. Empty space has no mass. So where does this mass in our universe come from? As an atom moves, it drags its corresponding negative bubble in the antiverse. This creates drag and gives the illusion of mass. Larger particles have more drag and therefore greater mass. If you think this is a bubble forming in 2 dimensions, it all seems unworkable. How can you have all these bubbles operating within the larger particle and yet still be dragging around their respective bubbles in the antiverse? Try to visualize all planes of matter not in a linear fashion, but as a series of concentric bubbles. The one atom in the middle of this bubble connects through to the antiverse. This connection is negative to its own existence, through the center of itself. Ponder that thought for a while. I wish to introduce another term used in science today. It is called the Bose-Einstein condensate. If negative existence is a sea of infinite dense matter, at the other end of the spectrum, there should be a state beyond or below matter itself. In 1995, scientists cooled rubidium to 170 billionths of a degree above absolute zero. That is an extremely low temperature. Matter became a single fluid entity. This has relevance in the world of esoterics. This state of fluidity is referred to in Kabbalism as klipoth, the antithesis of Ein Sof. Ein Sof has limitless potential and infinite density. Gnosticism calls this state of being, where all motion ceases, the abyss. Atoms of gas at room temperature move at approximately 1,000 miles per hour and slow down to 1 miles per hour just above absolute zero. When atoms stop vibrating, they share the same space. At minus 173 degrees Celsius, which is 0 degrees Kelvin, the energy aspect of matter becomes zero. The background radiation in the universe prevents temperatures ever naturally falling to 0 degrees K. It can therefore be concluded that the Bose-Einstein state can never actually be reached. This makes absolute zero an effective barrier beyond which matter cannot descend. I don't know whether that will help you sleep better at nights, but at least you know the abyss has a bottom, even if it is a very cold one. Time for another recap. We start off from a sea of primordial matter, which is infinitely dense and homogeneous. Because there is no time and space present, in this matrix of negative existence, there is no beginning and no end. It just is. In the beginning, there was darkness over the face of the deep. The Absolute created infinitesimally small bubbles in this matrix, making space for matter to manifest. The Spirit, another name for the Absolute, hovered over the waters and said, "Let there be light." a sea of fundamental 1 atoms began to manifest on plane 1. And he separated light from darkness. Another command rings out. Let there be expanses between the waters. Matter then proceeds to become increasingly dense on the lower 48 planes of existence. The Bose-Einstein condensate is incredibly dense, fluid, and frictionless. This is the metaphorical abyss. We now have a general model for the existence of a universe. We have outlined that it has 49 planes of matter at different densities that go to make up this universe. The next logical question to ask is, how exactly is this matter graded? There are 5 grades of matter. The first is unmanifested matter. It exists in the antiverse and is known as primordial matter. There are then 4 grades of manifested matter: primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary. All these grades have 3 attributes: energy, consciousness, and matter. The energy component dominates in the atom for the more subtle planes. The matter component is more prominent in the denser, heavier atoms. The consciousness aspect of atoms increases as they pass through the 4 grades of matter. The transition in each phase lasts for eons of time. I just want to state this again. Over the span of the 49 planes of existence, all 3 aspects of energy, consciousness, and matter are always present in each atom. The importance each aspect plays changes depending on whether the atom is vibrating slowly or quickly. The quicker, the higher the energy. The slower, the greater the effect matter is having on the atom. It is the consciousness aspect that is always there as well, that increases as the atom moves through the 4 phases of development. This, in a nutshell, is the whole point of the universe. It is a machine that takes primordial atoms and puts them through a conversion course. It takes a 1 atom from being unconscious to being fully conscious. It becomes omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient on all 49 planes. Let's start with the first of the manifested forms of matter, primary matter. This is the most basic form of involved matter. It is the famous 1 atom we have been talking about previously. Each one of these 1 atoms has a vortex or spin that creates a corresponding bubble in the sea of primordial matter. Remember, it is the connection of this atom to its corresponding bubble in the antiverse that gives an atom its mass. These primary atoms can cluster together to form larger and denser atoms and molecules. The main function of this primary matter is to form the background matrix of the 49 planes of existence. Although primary matter is the basic building block of the universe, it is severely limited in its uses. This is because it has an inactive consciousness. I know in the past I have said that everything in the universe has 3 components: energy or motion, matter, and consciousness. The consciousness aspect is not missing from primary matter, it is just not awakened yet. It is there in potential form. This inactive consciousness prevents external consciousnesses from interacting and using this matter to fashion complex material forms. This includes thought forms and life forms. I have used the term thought form for the first time, as though a thought has a particular shape. Well, it does. And this has staggering implications and consequences. These consequences will be expounded at length in further presentations. The descent of these primary atoms and the formation of other planes takes trillions of years. I usually use the term eon, but here I am prepared to narrow down the definition, even if it is a very big number. Setting a time span of trillions of years is at variance with science's estimate for the age of the universe. I make no apologies for this. Finally, the last 7 planes of existence come into being. These are planes 43 to 49. We are now in the realms of our solar system. On these 7 planes, the primary atoms also begin to form molecules. These are not molecules as we would understand them, but they are nevertheless not atomic matter anymore. They are more complex than that. In these last 7 planes of existence, the atomic form of matter makes up the highest of the subplanes. The remaining 6 subplanes are made up of molecular matter. The significance of this will be discussed further. Once primary matter reaches plane 49, it begins to disintegrate and makes its way back to plane 1. When I talk about disintegration, I mean that on all planes below the first plane, primary matter is combining with other primary atoms. They form more complex and denser atoms. Finally, on the last 7 planes, 43 to 49, it also forms molecules. Going the other way, these denser atoms evolve into lighter atoms. The primary atom eventually makes its way home to the first plane of existence. There it stands alone in its own natural environment. The role of primary matter from an energy perspective is to distribute zero-point energy to all other matter to keep it vitalized. It should be noted that all atoms and molecules exhibit a negative charge when descending into denser matter. They exhibit a positive charge when ascending through the planes of existence. The significance of this will become apparent when we consider our own evolution. How we use these atoms and molecules in experiencing the various planes of existence is unique to the 7 lowest planes of matter, 43 to 49. I wish to clarify the use of the term zero-point energy in this context. This energy is effectively the movement of these primary atoms, the 1 atoms, through all the groupings of atoms on the lower planes. These planes being plane 2 to plane 49. Why do I use the word grouping? Because, remember, a 2 atom is made up of 49 1 atoms. It is these 1 atoms that supply the energy that sustains the universe as they move through the planes. In other words, the atoms and molecules that may be present on that particular plane have a continuous flow of this primary matter through them. If you thought that this is a brain-extending concept, prepare for more. I'm going to start using esoteric terms that are difficult to understand in people's usual paradigms. I am prepared to accept that you will say that I left planet Earth a long time ago. Anyway, here goes. The creation of primary matter is referred to as the first outpouring. You will hear this term used over and over again, but I suspect many of the esotericists that use it do not really understand the concept behind it. Let's try and give a clear grounding for this important concept. This first outpouring is a flow of matter into the universe. Those 1 atoms. The energy of the third logos flows through these primary atoms. You may well ask, what is a third logos? And if there is a third one, are there another 2? The answer is yes to the second question. We have talked about 3 active forces that are always present in every primary atom. For the word atom, also read the word monad. they are effectively interchangeable concepts. Those forces are energy, consciousness and matter. These three states have also been given names like Shiva, Vishnu and Brahma. The Greeks used the word logos to describe these three aspects of divinity. Logos means word, but it could also signify vibration or energy. So the third logos is the third aspect of the Trinity. This concept is also present in Christianity. However, in Christianity it is presented in a scaled-down form, which we will discuss later. The first outpouring is an ongoing process, and this is what causes the universe to expand. I want to end this presentation here and recap on the significance of the first outpouring. This event is the first thing that happens when our universe comes into existence. It is triggered by an outpouring of primordial atoms from the antiverse by the third logos. These primary atoms circulate throughout all 49 planes found in the universe. In doing this, they deliver energy from the limitless source of energy that exists in the antiverse. As this energy travels into denser planes, it delivers a negative charge of atoms and molecules it passes through. In doing this, they deliver energy from the limitless source of energy that exists in the antiverse. As it ascends back to plane 1, a positive charge is delivered. This outpouring is an ongoing process throughout the universe. What is being delivered into the universe are the fundamental building blocks from which all other structures are built. In the 7th presentation, we will look at the remaining 3 grades of matter and link all 4 grades of matter together. If you wish to read a transcript of the presentation or leave comments, links to my website are in the description box below. Thank you.